Everyone, today we're going to go over topic 8 in the Math Museum, and it's all about equivalent fractions and ordering fractions. So we're going to go over some strategies on how to do both. So our first question is, draw a model to show 3/4 equals 6/8. You have a couple of options. I recommend a rectangle. So if I were to draw 3/4, I would split this rectangle up into 4 parts, and then I would color in 3 sections, showing that that's my numerator. Now, if I'm going to take a 4 and make it an 8, all I have to do is double it. So I'm going to split this in half, and I've doubled all of my pieces. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces colored in, with a total of 8 pieces in the rectangle. And it's as easy as that. You could do circles if you like that, but rectangles to me seem to be the easiest. Okay, so let's talk about Leslie. Leslie will use more than 1/2 cup, but less than 1 whole cup of flour for a recipe. What fraction of a cup might Leslie use? Explain. Okay, so we have 1/2. Think about a number line. We have 0. We have 1. And Leslie wants to use more than 1/2. So basically anything that lives between 1/2 and a whole. So it could be 3/4. Great option. Maybe 2/3. Another option. 7/8. 9/10. Anything that's bigger than a half and less than a whole. Okay? If you're not sure if it's larger than a half, all you have to do is the butterfly strategy to compare. So I draw a wing. 3 times 1 is 3. 2 times 2 is 4. And I know that 2/3 is greater than 1/2. So there is more than one answer to this one. Just choose the best one for you. All right. Jared has mowed 2/5 of the yard. Abby says that Jared has mowed 4/6 of the yard. Is Abby correct? So basically what Abby is saying is that 2/5 is equivalent to 4/6. The best way we can do that is to compare the fractions. So we're going to use the butterfly strategy. So 6 times 2 is 12. 5 times 4 is 20. So Abby is incorrect. Sorry, Abby, try again. Is incorrect because 2/5 is less than 4/6. They are not equivalent or equal. We'll take either, as long as you know your vocabulary. All right. We're on to number 4 already. Explain how to use division to find an equivalent fraction for 9/12. So I'm going to take that 9/12, and if I'm going to use division, I'm going to make it smaller. So let me think about, what can I divide by 9 and divide by 12? Let me think about skip counting. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. No, that's not going to work. 3, 6, 9, 12. Hey, we can divide the numerator by 3. We can divide the denominator by 3. And we are going to get 3/4. Now, if you wanted to check it, because maybe you aren't too sure, butterfly strategy it is. We'll draw a wing. 4 times 9 is 36. 12 times 3 is also 36. So you would be correct. Think multiplication is larger, division is smaller. So if you're looking for an equivalent fraction and it's asking for division, you have to think of smaller numbers. If they're looking for an equivalent fraction and it's multiplication, you're looking for larger numbers. Okay. Write 2 fractions that are equivalent to 3/6. Describe how you can show they're equivalent. I have 3/6, and I need to find equivalent fractions. Remember the rule. Whatever you do to the numerator, you have to do the denominator. So let's multiply. I feel like that's the easiest way. And I know my 2 times table really well. I know that 3 times 2 is 6, and I know 6 times 2 is 12. Okay? Think of another multiplication family that you know really well. How about 5s? Everybody knows how to multiply by 5. 3 times 5 is 15. 6 times 5 is 30. And that's all you have to do. If you know that 3/6 is also equal to 1/2, good for you, okay? Because remember, 3 is half of 6. Look at that. 6 is half of 12, 15 is half of 30, and 1 is half of 2. Okay. This seems to be a lot of work. Looking at this is a lot of fractions we have to compare, but we're going to do it together. Compare the fractions to 1/2. Write each fraction in the correct answer space. So when I compare, that's when I have to think my butterfly strategy. I'm going to look at these fractions first, and there's one I can already tell that is going to be greater than 1/2, and that is 5/4, because 5/4 is larger than 1. Now, on to the rest. Let's compare 1/2 to 5/10. Circle 10. 2 times 5 is 10. So these are equivalent. So 5/10 would go in this column. And check it off. Let's get to 2/12. 1/2, 2/12. Butterfly strategy. 2 times 2 is 4. 12 times 1 is 12. So 1/2 is greater than 2/12. So 2/12 is less than 1/2. And we check it off. 6/12. Now I know this mentally, but I do want to show you that the butterfly strategy always works if you are multiplying correctly. 2 times 6 is 12. 12 times 1 is also 12. So these are equivalent fractions. And check. Let's get to 3/8. 3/8. 1/2. Circle in the middle. 8 times 1 is 8. 2 times 3 is 6. So 1/2 is greater than 3/8, which means 3/8 is less than 1/2. And the last one. I know this one mentally too, but let's give it a go, okay? 2/3, circle, 1/2. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 1 is 3. I know that 2/3 is greater than 1/2. So this takes a lot of work, but if you're really good at your multiplication tables, you're going to be totally fine. All right, next one, number 7. Anytime you see A, B, C, or D, there is only going to be one answer, okay? When you see the little boxes, it's going to be select all that apply. Sarah and Cole both ordered large subs for lunch. Sarah had half of a sub, and Cole had 2/5 of a sub. Who ate more? Well, if we want to know who ate more, we have to think comparison. The subs are different sizes, so it is impossible to compare fractions and tell who ate more. Well, I don't think it's ever impossible to compare a fraction, so this one's out. So let's look at these three. 1/2, 2/5, and we compare 5 and 4. 1/2 is greater than 2/5. Sarah ate more than Cole, as 2/5 is less than 1/2. I'm going to put a dot there because that's true, but I never want to just rush. I always want to look at every option. Sarah's sub was bigger than Cole's, so Sarah ate more. Well, Sarah ate more, but it's not because hers was bigger, because they both ordered large subs. So not enough information there. They ate the same amount because 1/2 is the same as 2/5. Well, we just proved that 1/2 is greater. So D is incorrect. And there is B. That is your answer. Okay, so the Sahas were reading a best-selling novel as a family. After the first week, they checked in with each other to see how much of the book they each had read. So Mr. Saha read 2/6, Mrs. Saha read 1/3, Maddie read 3/4, and George read 2/3. Who read the greatest fraction of the book? So if they're looking for the greatest fraction, you have to order them. So let's look at 6, 3, 4, and 3 again. We have to think, what is an equivalent fraction that is going to work with 6, 3, and 4? My recommendation is to skip count and see where you have a common multiple, because that's all a common denominator is, a common multiple. So I have 3, 4, 8, 12. Oh, I'm noticing something already. I'm noticing a repeat already. Here it is. 12 is our common denominator. So now we have to take 2/6 and make it with a denominator of 12. We have to take 1/3 and give it a denominator of 12, 3/4 with a denominator of 12, and 2/3. So what did I do to a 6 to make it a 12? I multiplied by 2 and I get a 4. What did I do to a 3 to make it a 12? I multiplied by 4. So now that also equals 4/12. That's interesting. 4 times 3 is 12. So now 3 times 3 is 9. And now 3 times 4 is 12. So 2 times 4 is 8. So let's order these fractions from least to greatest. We have 4/12, 4/12, 8/12, because that's the next largest number, and then we have 9/12. So 9/12 is our greatest fraction, so Maddie read the greatest amount of books. Name 2 family members who read the same fraction. Or remember I said this was interesting before. We know that 4/12 equals 4/12. So Mr. and Mrs. Saha read the same fraction of the book, because we know that 4/12 is equal to 4/12. We also know that 2/6 is equal to 1/3, and we just proved it. Let's move on to number 9. Johnny found a fraction equivalent to the one shown by the point on the number line. Which fraction could Johnny have found? So he found 4/8, okay? And now we're going to go through each question. Remember, A, B, C, or D, there is only one answer, okay? 1/4, because 4/8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. Well, 4 divided by 2 is not 1. 4 divided by 2 is 4. I agree that 8 divided by 2 is 4, but unfortunately, A is incorrect because this person divided wrong. 1/8, because 4/8 minus 3/8 is equal to 1/8. We don't find equivalent fractions using subtraction, so that is also incorrect. 1/2, because 4/8 divided by 4/4 equals 1/2. Well, 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2, so I'm going to put a dot there because I do agree with that. 7/8, because 4/8 plus 3/8 equals 7/8. That is also incorrect because we don't use addition to find an equivalent fraction. So our answer is C. Now, if you were a little unsure and maybe a little shaky with this, remember, comparing fractions is always a great way to check your work. All right. Okay, so now we have to order 5/8, 1/2, 2/3, and 2/5 from least to greatest. So easiest way, like I said in the beginning of the video, is rectangles. So try to draw 4 rectangles the same size, the best that you can, and then represent those fractions using a model. So I am going to make this one 5/8. So I'm going to split this into 8 pieces. And then I'm going to color in 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My next one is 1/2, and I'm going to do my very, very best to split it down the middle and color in 1/2. And now I'm going to look at 2/3, and I'm going to split it into 3 pieces and then color in 2. And lastly, I have 2/5. I'm going to split this up into 5 pieces, and then I'm going to color in 2 pieces. So now I can see that the smallest fraction, if I were to really follow, really follow, it is 2/5. My next smallest fraction is 1/2. And then I look, and my next smallest fraction is 5/8. And my largest fraction is 2/3. All right, let's move on. Only one of the comparisons below is correct. Which is correct? What benchmark was used to check your answer? First thing you want to think about is comparing the 2 fractions, and then we will think about the benchmark. So let's do 2/3 and 1/2. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 1 is 3. So 2/3 is actually greater than 1/2. So that one is incorrect. 1/2 is equal to 3/5. Let's see if that's correct. Okay, 5 times 1 is 5. 2 times 3 is 6. 1/2 is actually less than 3/5. So that is incorrect. 2/3 is less than 9/10. Let's give it a try. 3 times 9 is 27. 10 times 2 is 20. So 9/10 is greater than 2/3. So let's put a dot there. And lastly, 3/4 is less than 2/3. One more comparison. That's 9. And 4 times 2 is 8. Actually, 3/4 is greater than 2/3. So that is incorrect. And I use 3/4 as a benchmark. So we know that 3/4 is in between 2/3 and 9/10. Here's our last question. Draw a model to compare 1/3 and 3/5. So you can draw your rectangles, and you can split it into 3 pieces and color in 1. That is your 1/3. You can draw a rectangle the same size, but split it into 5 pieces. And you can color in 1, 2, 3. And on the model, you can clearly see that 1/3 is less than 3/5. Remember, for this, you want to think about all of your multiples to find that common denominator. Think about your multiplication skills when using the butterfly strategy, and using elimination strategies if questions are not making sense. Please review, and we will see you soon. Bye, everyone.